Hey, it's Terry Burton, aka The Fridge. I just want to make a quick reply video to a posting I saw on YouTube saying that Nick Diaz was bad for the sport, not a good role model, and basically just not a very nice individual in general. First of all, Nick's a little rough around the edges. We all know that. But let's go all the way back to gentleman Jim Corbett. Let's go back further than that to John L. Sullivan, great bare-knuckle boxers of their time, up to Floyd Patterson. Let's go to Joe Louis. Let's go to Mike Tyson. Let's go to even my hero, Muhammad Ali. All those guys were a little rough around the edges. That's what made them great fighters. They took every fight personally. Every time they stepped in the ring, they thought that those guys were coming after them, and they were going after those guys. They hated their opponents. You didn't hear those guys saying, "Oh, my opponent's a great man, my opponent's my buddy," until after the fight. Nick Diaz is the same way. Nick Diaz brings an intensity, a fire into that cage, like we don't see in many fighters. He brings in raw emotion. Nick Diaz isn't packaged. Nick Diaz isn't wrapped in a bow by any company. What you see when you see Nick Diaz is Nick Diaz. I have respect for that. Very few athletes are like that today. Athletes today have PR managers. Don't say this, say that. Don't say this, say that. Say these things to these people. But let me ask you this. If Nick Diaz is such a bad guy, how many times have you read about him beating his wife, beating his girlfriend? How many times have you read about Nick Diaz getting his 3rd or 4th DUI? How many times have you heard about Nick Diaz tussling with the police, bringing a loaded gun into a club? Nick Diaz doesn't do those things. Nick Diaz trains, fights, trains some more. That to me is a good role model for any child. You talk about Nick Diaz isn't a very nice human being because he says things that aren't very nice to other fighters, or at press conferences he says what's on his mind. I've never seen Nick not sign an autograph. We're eating breakfast in Miami. Guy comes over, middle of breakfast. "Hey bro, let me get an autograph." Just like that. I figured, wow, that wasn't a very nice thing to do. Guy's eating breakfast. Nick puts down his fork, picks up his pen, and signs the guy's autograph. That's a nice thing to do. People don't know Nick Diaz. I don't know Nick Diaz as well as I would like to know Nick. But I know him better than people out there judging him by just looking at something on YouTube. People need to understand that Nick takes this seriously. This isn't a game to him. This isn't a payday. This is something he loves and something he takes to heart. I asked Nick, "Where are we going after this Thrumkus fight?" Nick said, "Oh, I don't like to think like that. I don't even like people talking like that because I don't know what's going to happen after this fight. I could be in the hospital. Hell, I could be dead. The other guy's coming in that cage. He's trying to rip me up." This is real talk, okay? Nick Diaz is a nice guy. He might not be your idea of a role model with all these prepackaged Hollywood celebrities out there, all these prepackaged Hollywood athletes, more concerned about what people think of them than their play on the field. Nick's a fighter. Nick's a triathlete. If I could be lucky enough to have a brother like Nick Diaz, I would be a lucky man. I'm just lucky enough to be able to call Nick my friend. So to all you haters who are hating on Nick, hating on his brother Nate, take a look around and you tell me what great man in history has been polished. What great man didn't have an intensity and a heart that Nick Diaz had? You work on your heart, you work on your intensity, and you'll see that he's not the bad guy you're putting him out to be. As The Fridge, that's all I got to say about that.